Jiang Han and his wife were literally just in a contract marriage, but once he asks for a divorce, she completely flips out, screaming that there is no shot she is ever divorcing him.
She literally confiscates his suitcase and gets a locksmith at midnight to weld his bedroom door shut.
She even tells her returning first love to beat it, all because of what happened years ago. He actually got into a car crash years ago to save her, and they contract married for 3 years. She thought he was just a desperate admirer, but plot twist, she was the substitute all along. But once he actually packs up and leaves, this arrogant heiress completely drops her attitude. She literally begs him, crying out that she cannot live without Jiang Han and pleading for him to return. At 6 p.m., he cooks a dinner tailored exactly to Tang Yuwei's picky taste. Preparing 6 dishes and a warm soup, by 7 p.m., he gets her bath ready, laying out Tang Yuwei's favorite fresh roses and soothing incense. At 8 p.m., he places her slippers by the door. At 9 p.m., Tang Yuwei finally pushes the front door open. He immediately greets her, taking her heavy coat and sliding the slippers right to her feet. Hanging her coat up, he softly asks if she wants to bathe or eat dinner first. Glued to her phone, she casually mutters that she will take a bath first. 30 minutes later, Tang Yuwei steps out of the bathroom wearing a bathrobe. Drying her hair, Jiang Han immediately steps forward to hand her some fresh pajamas. While she changes, he heads back to the kitchen to bring out the reheated food. Honestly, Tang Yuwei has long been completely used to this level of perfect care.
She seems to be in a fantastic mood today, constantly smiling at her phone.
Clearly texting someone. As Jiang Han passes by her to set the table, he catches a glimpse of her bright screen, showing the name Jingnian pinned right at the top. The name stings his eyes, but he calmly averts his gaze and walks away. Heading back into the kitchen, the phone in his pocket suddenly starts ringing. Pulling it out, the screen displays the contact name of Mrs. Tang. The moment he answers, Mrs. Tang's warm voice calls out to him. She asks if he is really divorcing Yuwei while he watches fireworks bloom outside. After a long silence, he softly replies that she already knows the truth. They only got married because of the contract, and now it has officially expired. Besides, Song Jingnian is divorced and back in the country, and she is thrilled. She no longer needs him anyway. On the other end, Mrs. Tang sighs deeply. Feeling terrible, she says she knows all the pain and bitterness he endured. She thought his years of dedication would finally make Yuwei fall in love. But it is fine, since Song Jingnian is back and she has someone else now. 5 years ago, Jiang Han gave up studying abroad just to stay by her side. So if he still wants to go, she can easily arrange everything for him. Staring at the blooming night flower outside, Jiang Han is lost in thought. For 5 long years, his entire life had been completely put on hold. It is finally time to move on, so he nods and thanks her. He asks her to make the arrangements, wanting to leave as soon as possible. After hanging up, the fireworks outside fade away into the dark night, just like his 5-year marriage, which is finally coming to an absolute end. Growing up poor, it was the Tang group that sponsored his college education, helping him succeed and even win the school's only chance to study abroad. He gets a sweet exchange student slot, but before heading abroad, he visits the wealthy Tang family to show some gratitude for their help. But he is the first to actually show up, completely surprising Mother Tang. She takes a closer look at him after hearing his true intentions. She goes quiet for a bit before saying, "If you really want payback, then do me a quick favor." And that is when Mother Tang reveals the whole dramatic story of Tang Yuwei. She was the ultimate golden girl. And Song Jingnian was the golden boy, both born into massive wealth. They were childhood sweethearts, and everyone knew she was head over heels for him. But Jingnian wanted a slow burn romance, basically friend-zoning her for years. When they finally graduate, Yuwei decides the time is perfect to confess. But Jingnian suddenly gets a girlfriend and flies overseas with her instead. Heartbroken, she rushes to the airport, but ends up in a brutal car crash. She wakes up from surgery only to hear he just got married abroad. Just like that, the proud golden girl completely shuts down, locking herself away. Since our boy showed up right then, Mother Tang sees an opportunity. She asks him to help Yuwei heal. To repay her, he agrees. He drops his study abroad plans and signs a 5-year deal with her. He stages a run-in at a party, pretending it is love at first sight.
He starts chasing her like crazy until their entire circle hears about it.
Everyone knows Yuwei has a guy who is completely obsessed with her. She gets used to his constant pampering, but never lets him cross the line. Until one night, she makes a wild bet with her friends on a cruise. Whoever has their date jump into the stormy sea to retrieve a ring wins. The prize is a massive land deal she desperately needs for her business. While everyone else backs away from the terrifying giant waves, he jumps straight in.
He dives in without hesitation, completely shattering her usual cold composure.
She hugs him tightly, trembling in fear, and suddenly proposes right there. She promises to try and love him, but the truth is low-key heartbreaking. She only agreed because Jingnian posted a photo online that exact day. It was a picture kissing his wife under the northern lights. Bro, that is crazy. Still, to fulfill his contract and heal her heart, he keeps trying. He goes all out for Yuwei, learning her childhood dream was seeing meteor showers. Her busy parents never took her, so he spends 6 whole months
Scouting the perfect mountaintop, but after waiting in the freezing cold all night,
Yuwei never shows up. Turns out she ran straight to Jingnian instead. At this point, Jingnian's marriage is falling apart, and she is ready to swoop in. From that day on, she starts flying overseas literally every single week. She packs all kinds of unique, expensive gifts to cheer him up, leaving them at his doorstep just to make him smile. It is actually crazy. She hides everything from our boy until the day Jingnian finally returns home. She crashes her car speeding to meet him, and our boy nurses her for 3 days. While unconscious, she mutters her ex's name 999 times. Now, that is insane. That is when he finally realizes he can never win her heart. Fortunately, their 5-year deal is up, and Jingnian is officially back after divorcing.
Tang Yuwei finally got her sweetheart back, meaning it is time for Jiang Chen to pack up and leave.
Honestly, this is the perfect chance for both of them to start fresh.
Seeing that he is taking forever to come out, she asks who he is calling.
Tang Yuwei walks into the kitchen to find him, only to see him staring blankly at his phone. Jiang Chen quickly snaps out of it, keeping his voice unbelievably calm.
Late at night, he just lies there, listening to Tang Yuwei sleeping quietly beside him.
He stares at the ceiling all night without sleeping a single wink, and then morning comes. Looking at the Western breakfast in front of her, Tang Yuwei immediately frowns.
She asks why he made this, since she knows he actually hates Western food.
Jiang Chen just picks up his fork and slowly chews a piece of steak, taking his time.
He claims this is all that was left in the fridge, which is a complete lie.
He's actually preparing to study abroad and wants to get used to the Western taste.
Luckily, she does not think too much of it and just sets her phone down. But she keeps staring at the screen, clearly waiting for someone to reply.
And honestly, we all know exactly who she is waiting for.
Suddenly, her phone buzzes, and she grabs it in a heartbeat, absolutely desperate for a text.
It looks like Song Jingnian sent her a text that completely brightens her mood. Her usually cold expression softens into a smile, and Jiang Chen just watches her quietly. That is when he pulls out the divorce papers he prepared long ago. From the very day they signed their marriage contract, he had been waiting for this day. Now that he is finally ready to let go, he asks Tang Yuwei for a divorce.
His voice is so incredibly casual, like he is just talking about the weather.
Meanwhile, Tang Yuwei is completely glued to her phone, texting away with her ex. She barely even hears him and just replies with a careless, which does not surprise him. For 5 whole years, this is exactly how cold and distant she has always been to him. Now that Song Jingnian is back, she cannot even spare him a fraction of her attention. Jiang Chen simply flips the divorce agreement over to the very last page. He slides it over with a pen and calmly points out the signature line.
Still texting, she carelessly grabs the pen without even looking at the paper.
She signs her own name right where he pointed, while her other hand keeps typing. As he packs up the papers, he tells her he will leave after the 1-month cooling period. Once again, Tang Yuwei just gives him another mindless nod and a lazy hum. She drops her fork and gets up, and watching her walk away, he just cannot help but call her name. He asks Tang Yuwei if she even has any idea what they were just talking about. She turns around looking totally confused, asking if it was about the orphanage donation contract.
She figured it was just the paperwork he mentioned to her a few days ago.
She asks what is wrong, And Jiang Chen can only laugh bitterly in his mind.
He already had her sign that donation contract last month, proving she truly does not care.
She never listens to a single word he says, but honestly, it does not even matter anymore.
At this point, he just silently wishes her a happy future with Song Jingnian. He just smiles and brushes it off, and that afternoon he drives out to the orphanage.
Once everything is delivered and taken care of, he goes to say his goodbyes. Jiang Chen steps into the director's office and announces that he is finally going abroad.
The director is absolutely thrilled because Jiang Chen was always a top talent in art.
They felt so sorry when he gave up studying years ago and tell him this is truly wonderful.
The kind orphanage director holds Jiang Chen's hand, smiling warmly, but then she pauses.
Suddenly, she frowns.
Long distance with his wife is going to be incredibly tough. He shakes his head. He tells her they divorced, catching her completely off guard.
She always knew their marriage was bound to fail anyway.
If she actually cared, she would have visited the orphanage with him at least once in 5 years.
Jiang Chen hugs her tightly, finally feeling that sweet freedom.
Back at the villa, he heads straight upstairs to pack.
But here is the heartbreaking part. Just a few old suits, while his wife of 5 years? She never bought him a single thing.
Jiang Chen rounds up all the expensive gifts he bought her.
He used to spend so much effort trying to make her happy. But she never even looked at them once. He dumps the dusty pile straight into a trash cart. Just as he turns around, a loud horn blares. A luxury Maybach pulls up. Out steps a woman in a flashy red dress.
It is his annoying sister-in-law, Tang Qian, scoffing at him.
She glares, mocking him for being poor and selling trash like a beggar.
He ignores her.
Tang Qian snaps, stepping forward to grab his arm. He used to tolerate their abuse just to keep the peace. But not today. Furious, she asks if he is deaf. Jiang Chen turns and aggressively yanks her hand away. He is totally done. She always thought he was a low-class nobody, unworthy of her family. From dumping his food to ruining his laundry, she did it all. But he is finally free now. She stops mid-scream with a wicked smirk. She sneers, telling him he better get used to selling trash. Because her sister's true love is finally back in town. Time to pack up and get lost. Right on cue, a handsome guy steps out of the car. This is Song Jingnian. Unlike Jiang Chen, he looks completely untouched by life. No wonder Tang Yuwei was obsessed with him. Song Jingnian plays nice, telling Tang Qian to show some respect. He points out Jiang Chen is still technically her brother-in-law. But Tang Qian scoffs, saying her sister only loves Song Jingnian. She literally flew abroad every single week just to chase after him while completely ignoring her actual husband. Tang Qian snaps that all those gifts were bought by her sister, asking if he still can't see her feelings. She then turns to our main character and barks out an order. What is he just standing there for? Hurry up and carry Song Jingnian's luggage inside right now. She adds that her sister already agreed to let him move in, but Jiang just glances at the bags. He completely ignores her and walks straight inside, leaving a furious Tang Qian stomping her feet behind him. In the end, the driver has to carry the bags, and just as Tang Qian is about to throw another fit, Tang Yuwei walks in. Her eyes immediately lock onto Song Jingnian, who is sitting comfortably on the sofa.
Seeing him there, she lets out a visible sigh of relief, completely ignoring her own husband.
She turns to Jiang and explains that Song Jingnian's house hasn't been lived in for years. It needs a complete renovation, so he will be crashing at their place for a few days. Jiang stays completely silent, and the entire room falls into an awkward, heavy hush. Sensing the tension, Song Jingnian stands up with a fake worried look and suggests that maybe he should just leave. He mutters that this is their marital home after all, and Mr. Jiang looks pretty unhappy about it. Tang Yuwei immediately stops him, saying there is no need to leave because Jiang is always generous. She claims he won't get mad over something this small, and that is when Jiang finally speaks up. With a cold smirk, he agrees that he absolutely won't get angry over such a trivial thing. He tells Song Jingnian to make himself comfortable, since this house will probably belong to him sooner or later anyway. Terrified that her precious ex might still leave, Tang Yuwei immediately orders the maids to move his bags into the largest guest room, while Tang Qian smirks triumphantly at Jiang.
She looks right at him and asks what he is still doing just standing there. She demands to know why he hasn't gone into the kitchen to start cooking dinner yet.
She even reminds him that Song Jingnian can't eat spicy food, so he needs to keep it bland.
Honestly, the audacity is crazy. Even with maids in the villa, Jiang was always the one cooking.
Tang Yuwei was just incredibly picky, refusing to even eat meals prepared by actual Michelin chefs. Only Jiang's cooking could satisfy her, but no matter how much effort he poured into his dishes, Tang Yuwei would only take a few lazy bites, and when Tang Chan joined them, she did nothing but complain. But this time, Jiang just shakes his head calmly. He drops a bomb that shocks everyone in the room. I am not cooking. Hearing him refuse, Tang Yuwei instinctively whips her head around to look at him in disbelief. In her mind, Jiang was always the obedient dog who never once talked back to her family. This is literally his first time saying no, and just as she is about to snap, Song Jingnian plays the victim, his eyes welling up with tears as he blames himself.
He sighs that he shouldn't have moved in, since he is just an outsider after all.
He claims he shouldn't expect Mr. Jiang to cook for him, turning around to pack his bags. Tang Yuwei immediately grabs his arm, insisting that none of this is his fault.
She glares back at Jiang, asking coldly why he is acting up when he claimed he wasn't mad. She demands to know what his deal is, but Jiang just calmly raises his hand.
Pointing out the band-aids on his fingers, he simply says that he is injured. He claims he can't touch water, but honestly, he is not hurt at all. Their contract is officially over, and he is done wasting his energy on this toxic woman.
The band-aids are just a genius excuse to get out of playing their personal chef.
The air completely freezes because Chang was the only one who ever did any chores around here. The hired maids always leave on time, meaning absolutely nobody else in this house knows how to cook.
Calling the staff back now is out of the question since it is already way too late.
Tang Qian scowls in pure annoyance, complaining about why he didn't mention his injury earlier. Is he trying to starve us on purpose? He actually steps up to talk trash. Song Jingnian quickly holds Tang Qian back, telling her to stop, before looking over at Tang Yuwei. Yuwei, it has been so long since I went abroad. I kept thinking about that hot pot place from high school, the one we always hit after late classes. How about we get hot pot tonight? Of course, Song Jingnian is the one suggesting this. And no shot, Tang Yuwei is saying no, immediately agreeing with her most gentle voice. She offers to drive, and the group drags Jiang Chen along like a total afterthought.
The entire drive, Tang Yuwei is chatting away with the two sitting in the back. They start reminiscing about high school, and Song Jingnian is just living his best life.
Tang Qian chimes in too, and honestly, the vibe in the car is crazy high. All three of them are laughing together, but right in the middle of it, Song Jingnian suddenly looks at Jiang Chen in the passenger seat and offers a fake apology.
He says they did not ignore him on purpose. It is just a memory he was never part of.
But here is the thing. Jiang Chen is done. He won't be part of their future either.
Jiang Chen just gives a quiet nod and closes his eyes, trying to block it all out. Tang Yuwei actually glances at him, sensing that something about him feels completely different today.
Once they park, Jiang Chen makes a quick excuse and heads straight to the restroom.
He splashes freezing water onto his face and looks up at his reflection in the mirror. Even his handsome looks cannot hide the absolute exhaustion of surviving a 5-year marriage.
While Song Jingnian is beaming with life, Jiang Chen is left looking utterly drained and broken. He tells himself to hold on just a little longer, and he will finally be free.
Whispering those words to himself, he walks back into the private dining room. Of course, the other three already ordered everything, selecting a mild broth for the table.
They make sure to order tons of veggies, since Song Jingnian does not eat meat.
And no cilantro either, Tang Yuwei says while keeping her eyes glued to the menu.
She carefully instructs the waiter, proving that even after all this time, she still knows him. Her memory of Song Jingnian's preferences is still flawless, which is honestly so toxic. Then she suddenly asks Jiang Chen if he has any allergies, which is literally a first in 5 years.
Sitting across from them, Jiang Chen quietly grabs a tissue to wipe down his utensils.
He tells her anything is fine besides seafood, and then the dinner begins. Throughout the meal, Tang Yuwei only cares about Song Jingnian, barely eating a single bite herself.
She keeps piling food onto his plate instead, but halfway through, things take a wild turn.
A massive fight suddenly breaks out at the table next to them, escalating super fast.
They jump up and start throwing hands, prompting the other customers to rush over and intervene.
But out of nowhere, one of the guys loses his mind in pure rage. He grabs the boiling hot pot broth and throws it straight at the other dude. The guy dodges, but the boiling liquid flies right toward Zhang Chen's table instead. Amidst the chaotic screams, Tang Yuwei reacts instantly.
She shielding Song Jingnian in her arms while Jiang Chen has no time to move.
He is completely helpless as a massive pot of boiling soup flies his way. It splashes all over him, instantly soaking him in the burning hot liquid.
His arm immediately blisters and turns bright red, the pain feeling like thousands of hot needles.
It hurts too much to even scream, but seeing this, Tang Yuwei finally lets go of Song Jingnian.
She rushes over to Jiang Chen, showing actual panic in her eyes for the first time.
She frantically asks if it hurts and begs to take him to the hospital, but he just stares.
The searing pain spreads through his entire body, leaving him completely unable to speak.
Tang Yuwei immediately panics, screaming about how her precious Jingnian got so badly hurt. Her attention completely shifts to Song Jingnian as she rushes over to him like the world is ending. But get this, the guy literally just has a few tiny drops of hot pot oil on his arm.
Yet they act like it is a fatal wound, while Jingnian weakly claims he's fine.
He even tells her to take Jiang first, since his injuries look way worse. "Are you serious?" she cries. "You have been pampered your whole life. Even a tiny scratch hurts you for days. So, sister, what are you standing there for?" Tang Qian stomps her feet, demanding they get Jingnian to the hospital immediately.
She even points a finger to threaten the bystanders, asking if they are out of their minds. "Take your fights outside! You just hurt our precious Jingnian!"
"My sister will make you pay for this." At this point, Jingnian groans like he is dying of pain. He gasps dramatically, but still plays the martyr, telling Yuwei that he is really okay. He acts so selfless, urging her to check on Jiang, who is actually severely burned. Seeing his weak act absolutely breaks Yuwei's heart, and she completely forgets about her badly burned husband.
She grabs Jingnian to rush out, but pauses right before the exit like she suddenly remembered something.
She gives Zhang a guilty look, claiming Jingnian has always had incredibly sensitive skin.
"He is terrified of pain," she says, "so just grab a cab and go to the clinic yourself."
Jiang just stands there, watching the three of them walk away until they completely vanish. He finally snaps back to reality, gasping for air as the searing pain takes over. A waiter who saw this entire tragic scene rushes over, looking at Jiang with absolute pity.
He quickly apologizes for the restaurant's accident and starts treating Jiang's severe burns.
After swallowing some painkillers, the agonizing burning sensation finally starts to dull just a bit.
At least he can breathe now. He borrows clean clothes from the waiter to cover up his ruined shirt.
Once changed, he stumbles out of the restaurant and flags down a cab to the hospital.
At the clinic, the doctor uses a swab to pop and drain the massive blisters on his skin. He warns Jiang to apply the ointment daily if he does not want permanent scarring.
Zhang squeezes his eyes shut from the pain, while two nurses walk past his bed whispering. One nurse gossips about how incredibly well President Tang treats that Jingnian guy. He got splashed with a few tiny drops of oil, and she rented out an entire hospital floor and called in every specialist. If they had arrived any later, that tiny scratch probably would have healed on its own. The other nurse sighs, wishing she could find someone who pampered her like that. Her friend laughs it off, saying a devoted woman like that only appears once in a millennium. Once in a millennium, Chang thinks, letting out a bitter, lifeless laugh. Leaving your severely burned husband behind to coddle someone with a minor scratch? That is wild. She really is one of a kind. After his bandages are finally finished, Jiang thanks the doctor and slowly limps out of the clinic, heading toward the exit.
Just then, his phone buzzes with a brand new notification. It is an official acceptance letter from an art school abroad telling him to prepare for registration. They need an entrance portfolio piece. For the first time in 5 years, he needs a paintbrush. After purchasing his supplies, he decides he is completely done with the Tang family mansion.
Instead, he heads straight up to Lanye Mountain to find some peace. The place is gorgeous, featuring a pristine lake nestled in the mountains that reflects everything like a mirror. The whole view looks like a masterpiece, finally giving his exhausted soul some breathing room. He lets out a deep breath, feeling 5 years of agonizing misery finally starting to melt away. Finally getting some long-lost freedom, creative inspiration floods his mind.
The second his brush touches the white paper, a breathtaking landscape instantly comes to life.
No annoying city drama, just the peaceful mountain breeze and birds singing. For 3 whole days, our boy completely loses himself in his art.
Only when heading back down to submit his school plans does he finally check his phone.
Instantly, a massive flood of missed calls and unread texts spams his screen. Every single notification is from none other than his toxic wife, Tang Yuwei.
This is wild because he was always the one chasing her with endless calls.
She never used to call him, and she definitely never called back. While he's staring at the screen in disbelief, her annoying sister calls.
He picks up and her screeching voice immediately blasts through the speaker. She screams at him for disappearing, claiming her sister has been going crazy looking for him.
She warns him not to think this silent treatment will get her sister's attention.
She snaps that only Song Jingnian gets to be the man of the house.
After she hangs up on him, Jiang Cheng just frowns in pure annoyance.
Did he hear that right? Tang Yuwei is actually looking for him like crazy?
What does she even want? He almost calls her sister back to check.
But the 108 missed calls on his screen prove she was desperate. Still completely confused, Jiang Cheng packs up his drawing board and heads back home. The moment he gets out of his car, the mansion servants rush over. They look so relieved to see him, some of them are literally on the verge of tears. They cry out that he is finally back and explain how chaotic things have been. The entire house is a mess because President Tang is unhappy with absolutely everything they do.
She has been throwing tantrums for days, and now he finally gets it. She is simply not used to living without him taking care of her.
But she better start adjusting because very soon he is leaving her life for good. She will have to get used to living without him. He comforts the worried staff and walks inside. The mansion is completely dark, with Tang Yuwei sitting all alone on the couch.
Hearing his footsteps, she finally looks up at him.
She stares at him for a long moment, barely hiding her irritation.
She demands to know where he was, and Jiang Cheng calmly takes off his coat.
He calmly replies he was painting in the mountains, making her frown.
She asks why he is suddenly painting, but this is not sudden at all.
He was actually a top art student before giving it up to repay her family. If he had studied abroad, he would have been a famous painter by now.
But he does not bother explaining any of this, simply taking a slow sip of water.
He just casually says he suddenly felt like painting again.
Tang Yuwei rubs her temples and tries to bring up the hot pot incident from before. She claims she did not abandon him on purpose, but Song Jingnian is just too fragile. Like, this dude gets a tiny scratch and acts like he is bleeding to death.
She is used to babying him, which is why she took him to the hospital first. And then she blames Jiang Cheng for not objecting, asking why he ran away from home. She adds that Song Jingnian has already moved out to his newly renovated place.
She tells him to stop throwing tantrums over minor things, her voice dripping with pure accusation. He cannot tell if she is mad about him leaving or just annoyed by his lack of generosity.
Because of her drama, her beloved moved out early. Honestly, Jiang Cheng could not care less.
Puts down his glass. He starts heading upstairs. Tang Yuwei's voice drifts from behind. "Jiang Cheng, I'm hungry. Go make me some noodles." He just lifts up his heavily bandaged left hand and asks, "Did you forget my hand is injured too?" Tang Yuwei actually freezes at that, but he doesn't even bother waiting for a reaction. He just heads upstairs. Days later, he leaves his room.
And boom, an incredibly expensive watch is shoved right in his face. He looks up at Tang Yuwei, totally confused.
She mutters about being too busy caring for Song Jingnian during the hot pot incident.
This watch is her way of compensating him. But looking at that luxury box, our boy's eyes just go cold.
A bitter laugh flashes through his mind. 5 years. A whole 5 years they've been together.
And this is the very first gift she's ever given him, yet it's only meant as compensation. All to compensate for ignoring him. Right then, Jiang Cheng remembers her study room. It was packed with carefully chosen gifts she bought for Song Jingnian. The sheer irony of it is actually crazy. He suppresses a laugh. A gift? Seriously?
Yeah, he doesn't need it anymore. Seeing him just stare at the box without taking it?
Tang Yuwei doesn't think too deeply. She just assumes he doesn't like the style.
Too busy with Song Jingnian lately.
She just had her assistant buy the most expensive one at an auction, but if he hates it?
Before she can finish, her sister Tang Qian bursts in, dragging Song Jingnian along.
Tang Qian is loudly whining that her sister loves him so much. He never should have left. And even if he did, he should visit her sister more often, as she literally drags him inside. But then she spots the watch. Instant excitement. She yells that Song Jingnian literally just told her how much he wanted this exact watch. She squeaks about how her sister must have bought it for him, looking over at Song Jingnian with starry eyes. Hearing that, Song Jingnian looks at Tang Yuwei with this massive, hopeful smile. Jiang Cheng sees the immediate hesitation in Tang Yuwei's eyes, and, without a second thought,
He just hands the watch straight to Song Jingnian, telling him to take it if it's his.
just like that, he makes the choice for her, instantly saving her from any awkwardness.
And for once, Tang Yuwei doesn't look at Song Jingnian.
Instead, she just stares at Jiang Cheng. She actually feels this weird knot of discomfort. He feels totally different now, like a stranger.
She can't explain it.
1 week later, the official divorce cooling off period finally ends. He is finally, truly free. He starts packing. Tang Yuwei's assistant delivers a custom designer suit, telling him he needs to attend a family banquet. Staring at the fancy suit, Cheng Cheng honestly just wants to laugh out loud. Legally speaking, their marriage is already dead and buried. Yet Tang Yuwei is still completely clueless. He's about to reject the invitation outright. But then he remembers how kind Mother Tang always was. Plus, his travel documents are still there. He needs those documents anyway, so he goes. Inside the glamorous banquet hall, Song Jingnian is surrounded by a crowd of bootlickers.
They're hyping him up, saying President Tang loves him so much, especially with that watch.
It's an ultra-rare limited edition piece fresh off the auction block.
They call it the ultimate symbol of one-of-a-kind love.
Truly peak romance, right?
Someone dropped a fortune. Turns out, it's President Tang. Everyone is teasing her first love, saying she's still totally obsessed. Walking him home daily back in school. Secret gifts, chocolates and jellies stuffed in his desk, all from her. Remember their big fight? He ignored her for days.
She begged everyone for help, completely desperate. Zazie had no clue.
Her eyes were bloodshot just from being ignored.
It literally almost killed her.
Honestly, nobody could ever love Song Jingnian more than her.
She was absolutely devastated when he got married. Flying abroad every single week just to buy him gifts. And now, he's divorced. The crowd is practically screaming for them to get back together. In the middle of all this hype, Chong Chen just stands in the corner. Imagine hearing how deeply your own wife loves another man. Jiang Chen! A sudden voice snaps him right out of his thoughts. He turns, almost calls her mom out of pure habit. He catches himself. He calls her auntie instead. That cold title makes Mother Tang sigh in heavy silence. She silently hands over his travel documents. Everything for his escape is fully arranged. Flight is booked. He leaves in 3 hours. She asks if he needs anything else. Looking at the papers, Jiang Chen feels a massive weight lift off. Finally, freedom and a brand new life are waiting for him. He deep breathes, hiding his excitement. He packs the files, thanking Auntie for everything she did. He's incredibly grateful, but then he pauses. He makes one last request. If Tang Yuwei ever asks about him, she must promise to say she has no idea where he went. They are better off never meeting again. This completely shocks Mother Tang. Did he really not tell his wife? But honestly, what's left to say? Should he tell her his 5 years of devotion were just a lie? He was only repaying a favor on Mother Tang's orders. Just a rebound to help her forget Song Jingnian. Or that he's leaving forever? It's completely pointless now that her first love is back. She won't care anyway. There's no need to talk. He just wants a clean break without any drama. Too late. A cold female voice suddenly asks who is leaving. He freezes, locking eyes with Tang Yuwei. He tries to speak, terrified of how much she heard. Luckily, Mother Tang immediately steps in, claiming it's nothing. Tang Yuwei does not even ask why he showed up, just eyeing the birthday cake. She tells Mother Tang it is time to cut the cake, but the matriarch just rubs her temples. Mother Tang declines, saying she feels unwell and they should go cut it instead. Without another word, she lets a maid help her upstairs, completely ignoring them. Once her mom is gone, Tang Yuwei reaches out to Jiang Chen, telling him to come on. She expects him to join her, but he just shakes his head. He raises his bandaged hand, calmly saying it is still healing. He tells her to take Song Jingnian instead, completely catching her off guard. She has no idea why he is saying this, but low-key feels like she is losing control. Honestly, this is wild. Now she is acting confused, asking why she should find him. Like, bro, what? Did she forget she always abandons him the second Song Jingnian calls? For the past 5 years, she has literally flown abroad countless times just for that guy. Now that he is finally stepping back to give them space, she acts all shocked. He just smiles, saying it is because they are so close. Maybe this is just cake anyway. Seeing his calm smile, she realizes he does not actually seem upset. Although something feels off, she does not push any further. Instead, she walks straight to Song Jingnian and whispers something in his ear. He nods anyway. She links arms with him and they go up to cut the cake together. With the piano playing softly, they lean into each other so closely. Seriously, it looks less like a birthday party and more like their wedding. Midway through the party, the elders start leaving early. Soon, only the younger crowd is left behind. This group grew up with Tang Yuwei and knows everything about her past. They are fully aware of her history with Song Jingnian, and seeing them together triggers them. Everyone bursts into applause, with a few troublemakers starting to cheer and tease them. They chant for a kiss, making Song Jingnian blush even harder. Tang Yuwei blushes a bit too, but she does not actually lean in to kiss him. Yet she does nothing to stop them, and Jiang Chen honestly does not care. He checks his phone. Since his flight leaves in 3 hours, he needs to head out right about now. But because he is standing there in silence, everyone assumes he is totally heartbroken. Naturally, a group of rich snobs led by Tang Qian decides to cause trouble. They walk over with mocking smirks, and when he finally looks up, he is completely surrounded. Tang Qian smiles nastily, calling out to Jiang Chen. She sneers that even after years of marriage, he is still just standing there like a loser. Watching her sister act all sweet with Song Jingnian just like she warned him before. She reminds him that her sister only used him as a rebound to heal her heartbreak. She asks how he can be so thick-skinned, shamelessly clinging to her sister like this. He just wants to pack. But as he turns to leave, the crowd gets even more obnoxious. They mock him, asking if an ugly duckling like him actually expected to become a swan. Like, if Song Jingnian had not gone abroad, does he really think he would be here? He would never have become the son-in-law, and he needs to check his status. If you know what's good for you, you'll pack up and leave. They start shoving him, yelling at him to scram from the Tang family. They demand to know if he's deaf since he's just standing there. One hot-headed relative loses it completely and shoves Jiang Chen hard. With a massive crash, he's thrown backward. He smashes right into a massive champagne tower, glass shattering everywhere. The mix of spilled wine and fresh blood is honestly heartbreaking to watch. Everyone freezes, and up on the stage, his wife, Tang Yuwei, spots this. Her eyes widen, and she immediately drops her friend Song Jingnian's hand. Seeing Jiang Chen covered in blood on the floor, she's absolutely furious. She rushes to help him up and immediately calls for a private doctor. She glares at the crowd, demanding to know who did this. Nobody speaks. Her face is pure ice, but before she can say more, a bodyguard runs in, saying the spoiled friend Song Jingnian has a stomachache. The guard begs her to check on him, but she holds on to Jiang Chen. She just frowns, asking if it's really that serious. The guard panics, claiming the guy is literally rolling on the floor in pain. Now it's Tang Yuwei's turn to hesitate, looking down at Jiang Chen. Seeing the conflict on her face, Jiang Chen already knows what she'll say. So he calmly speaks up, saying he knows the guy is incredibly spoiled. He gets a tiny scratch and complains, and she always runs to his side. She didn't expect him to steal her words, her lips parting in silence. Jiang Chen just stumbles back onto his feet, completely numb to it all.
He tells her to go ahead and let the doctor check on him first.
He says he can handle his own wounds, but get this.
Seeing his total indifference suddenly makes Tang Yuwei low-key panic inside.
He was always this understanding, but today his injuries are actually severe. Yet he's so calm that he won't even look her in the eyes.
This isn't like him. He used to only care about her. What changed? Before she can even ask him, she's interrupted. From down the hall, they hear Song Jingnian screaming out in pain. That's the breaking point. She looks at Jiang Chen with pure guilt. She promises she will come back soon and make it up to him. Without another second of hesitation, she leaves him behind and runs off. He watches her frantically rush to help the other guy and leave the venue. Jiang Chen just smiles mockingly, but the toxic relatives think he's heartbroken. Tong Chen sneers, mocking him for thinking he'd get any pity from her sister.
She tells him he was still abandoned and needs to have some self-awareness.
They tell him to pack his bags and leave. He ignores them completely. He finds an empty guest room and treats his own cuts.
After changing into clean clothes, he limps out of the mansion. Back at the villa, he packs all his belongings and heads downstairs.
Before leaving, he grabs the papers. He leaves the signed divorce agreement on the table and opens the door. But right as he steps out, he bumps straight into Tang Qian, who immediately starts whining.
Tang Qian snaps, asking why he is running around when her sister sent her with medicine.
She complains that her sister should have just stayed by Song Jingnian's side instead.
Yet she's still worried about him, making Tang Qian search for ages.
He says he does not need it, telling her to save it for Song Jingnian instead. With a calm face, he brushes past her hand to walk away.
That is when Tang Qian finally notices the suitcase in his hand.
Her face drops instantly as she grabs his arm, asking what he is doing.
Jiang Chen just stares at her, his eyes completely lifeless.
He says it is pretty obvious what a guy with a suitcase is doing.
He is leaving since her sister loves Song Jingnian, and she always wanted him as a brother-in-law anyway.
So he is finally signing the divorce papers to make room, leaving Tang Qian completely wide-eyed.
She stands there frozen, absolutely stunned.
Honestly, everyone in their circle knew how crazily obsessed Jiang Chen used to be, so this sudden exit is wild.
She tries to make sense of it, her voice trembling slightly as she calls his name. She tells him to stop acting because he practically begged to marry her sister back then. There is no way he would suddenly want a divorce unless he is playing some game. She accuses him of playing hard to get, warning him that this cheap trick will not work. Jiang Chen stays dead silent before telling her the signed divorce papers are right on the table. She can go check the truth herself, but then he asks why she is still holding his hand. Is she suddenly sad to see him go? Hearing that, Tang Qian instantly loses her mind. She quickly lets go, yelling that she wants him gone as soon as possible. She claims she will set off fireworks to celebrate once he leaves. But for some reason, her voice lacks any real confidence.
She sounds incredibly unsure of herself, but Jiang Chen does not even bother looking back.
He just bids them congratulations on finally getting what they wanted and walks out. Watching him walk away with zero regrets, Tang Qian finally panics. Nah, she is not ready for this.
Everything is spinning out of control and she frantically calls out to him.
She demands to know where he is going and why he is not telling her sister.
Jiang Chen stops for a brief moment, turning his head back to look at her.
He looks past her, staring at the luxury villa where he spent the last 5 years. For 5 whole years, he pretended to love Tang Yuwei just to repay a debt of gratitude. He let everyone treat him like a desperate, pathetic husband who would never leave. In the process, he completely threw away his own dreams and abandoned his future. He basically lost his entire identity trying to be the perfect husband to an ungrateful woman. Yet he never got a single ounce of respect or basic human decency in return. 5 years of this suffocating marriage, and now the debt is finally settled. Finally, he gets to welcome his freedom, and honestly, seeing him smile hits so different. He feels lighter than ever, completely free from the chains of the Tang family. From now on, it is time for him to live a life that actually belongs to him. Absolutely everything in this toxic house has nothing to do with him anymore. No more Tang family, and definitely no more Tang Yuwei. Jiang Chen waves goodbye to his past and vanishes into the moonlit night. 3 days pass before Tang Yuwei finally bothers to come home to grab some clothes. Out of habit, she calls out for Jiang Chen,
But only the servants show up. She asks where her husband is, noticing the servants awkwardly helping her with her coat.
She frowns, and the maid stutters for a solid minute before finally speaking.
He is not home. She slips on her house shoes and walks in. Gone again.
Last time, she rushed Song Jingnian to the hospital after he got burned by hot pot. When she came back, Jiang Chen acted just like this, quietly disappearing on a sketch trip for days. This time, she also helped Song Jingnian to the hospital, and before leaving, Jiang Chen even told her it was fine.
He told her that she should go, and now he is throwing another tantrum and leaving the house. Her irritation slowly turns into a strange, boiling anger.
Tang Yuwei walks over to the couch and spots a document sitting on the table.
Normally, she would completely ignore it, but today, some weird impulse makes her reach out.
She picks up the paper and the words divorce agreement stare right back at her.
Her eyes widen. Right there at the bottom, where the wife is supposed to sign?
Her own signature is already written. In an instant, she freezes.
Her face goes completely cold, and all the warmth drains from her eyes. Only a dark, icy stare remains. She reaches out to touch her own handwriting.
It is not a print or a copy. She actually signed this herself.
But she has zero memory of ever signing a divorce paper. Her eyes narrow, suddenly remembering that morning they had breakfast together.
He had passed her some papers to sign while they were eating.
She was so busy texting Song Jingnian that she did not even look at the pages. That was the divorce paper. She squeezes the document, crumpling it in her fist. Then she tears it into shreds and lets the pieces flutter to the floor. Divorcing him? To her, that is the biggest joke in the world. Talk about delusional. He loves her too much. He literally jumped into the ocean for her before. She abandoned him so many times, and he never even got mad.
He is probably just jealous because she has been busy taking care of Song Jingnian.
After 5 years, let him be a little jealous. He will come back eventually. And if he does not, no, he will absolutely come back.
Tang Yuwei is completely sure of it. After all, besides her,
nobody else would ever love him this much. Over the next few days,
the servants never mention him. Then Tang Yuwei brings Song Jingnian back from the hospital.
Staring at the bland porridge, her sister Tang Qian throws her spoon down in disgust.
She demands to know who cooked it, asking where Jiang Chen is to remake it.
The maid hesitates, saying that the master has not come home in days.
Tang Qian freezes, her eyes wide. He still is not back?
She honestly thought his talk of divorce was just some silly game.
After all, marrying her sister was his only ticket to a wealthy life. Seriously, these sisters are so full of themselves.
Anyone would cling to that. She remembers seeing the divorce papers on the table.
She looks up at Tang Yuwei, remembering what the servants told her.
Tang Yuwei also saw the divorce papers when she got home. But she did not care at all, just ripping them up and tossing them.
Tang Chen bites her lip and looks at Song Jingnian, who is quietly eating. It is like he does not even hear what they are saying.
Her sister wanted Song Jingnian for years, and now he is finally returning her feelings.
With Jiang Chen out of the picture, her sister should be happy.
But when Tang Chen looks at Tang Yuwei, her sister's brow is deeply furrowed. Song Jingnian is clearly ticked off that Jiang Chen has not crawled back begging for forgiveness yet. He left, so why is he still ruining her peace?
Once the servants help Song Jingnian upstairs to rest, Tang Qian looks over at her sister, Tang Yuwei.
She asks when she is finally making things official with Song Jingnian. She says she has wanted him as a brother-in-law for years.
What did you say? Tang Qian flinches, terrified. She shrinks back but points out that they already divorced anyway.
You do not even like him, so why not?
Tang Yuwei freezes, demanding how she knows about the divorce.
She admits she saw the signed divorce papers when delivering medicine.
Turns out Tang Yuwei thought Jiang Chen was just bluffing.
But with him gone this long, reality is finally sinking in.
Hearing this, Tang Yuwei's face falls, completely dark. It is crystal clear now. Those papers were not some childish cry for attention.
Jiang Chen was serious, dead serious. Slamming her coffee cup down, she still thinks she loved him. Now, that is actually crazy. How could he actually leave? She thinks she just spoiled him.
Besides, where else could he go? She orders them to call him.
Get back here, no more tantrums. The maid hesitates.
She admits they already tried calling him, but the line is dead.
Annoyed, Tang Yuwei pulls out her phone and scrolls through her contacts. That is when she realizes she never even saved her husband's number. Like, bro, what? After grabbing Jiang Chen's number from the maid, she immediately dials. But all she gets is a robotic voice saying the number is out of service. Deleted. He actually deleted his number. She is absolutely stunned. Rage explodes. She stands up and storms out. Tang Qian screams after her in panic, but she does not look back. Stuck at a red light, she finally starts to calm down. Where can she even find him? Jiang Chen has been an orphan his entire life. Before her family sponsored him, he was just an orphan.
She immediately U-turns, off to the orphanage.
Seeing Tang Yuwei, the director's face turns cold, instantly sending the kids away. What do you want? She asks coldly. Ignoring her attitude, Tang Yuwei demands to know where Jiang Chen is. She almost complains that her home is a total disaster now. But she shuts her mouth. Not the right audience. The director's eyes fill with absolute disgust. 5 years of marriage. And she's still treating him like a stranger? This is low-key heartbreaking. Honestly, it is a blessing he paid his debt and got out. No shot a toxic woman like her deserves him anyway. Completely ignored, the director just shuffles her papers.
She scoffs that after 5 years of marriage, Tang Yuwei still has no clue. So how would an outsider know?
Leave. Nothing. Tang Yuwei slams her fist against the wheel. She really thought Jiang Chen was just playing games, but she is completely wrong. But now that Jiang Chen deactivated his number and vanished, literally nobody knows where he went. She finally has to accept the brutal truth. He is actually divorcing her. But she is incredibly bitter about it since he used to completely adore her. Why would he choose to leave her so easily? But right at that moment, her phone starts buzzing, and when she picks up, Mother Tang's weak voice comes through, begging Yuwei to come back home. She has something important to tell her, and seeing her daughter, Mother Tang just sighs. Now that Yuwei and Jiang Chen are divorced and Song Jingnian is back in the country, she hints they should get together, but Yuwei quickly cuts her off. She blurts out that she never actually agreed to divorce Jiang Chen. Mother Tang stares in total shock, pulling an official divorce certificate right out of her drawer. But you already got the official certificate, she says? Did Jiang Chen not tell you? Seeing the pure confusion on Yuwei's face, Mother Tang is even more baffled. She originally thought Jiang Chen just kept his trip abroad a secret from her daughter. But to not even mention the divorce? How did they even sign the papers then? Yuwei stares at the certificate, her eyes darkening as absolute fury starts boiling inside her. The rage is practically burning in her eyes. She had honestly assumed that they only signed an agreement, not that he already got the actual certificate. If she remembers correctly, getting that certificate requires a whole 1-month cooling off period. Which means more than a month ago, Jiang Chen was already planning to leave her. Seeing her mother's confused look, she brushes it off with a few words before asking her mother a question. Why was she trying to play matchmaker with Song Jingnian? Mother Tang just smiles. You practically threw your life away for him back then, and now he is back. Since Jiang Chen divorced you two, I just figured this was your chance. Before, everyone said she and Song Jingnian were toxic, but now that they are both divorced? Suddenly, everyone says they are perfect together, making her feel incredibly uneasy. But she never agreed to divorce Jiang Chen. For some reason, just hearing the word divorce makes her entire body panic. After 5 years of marriage, she is completely used to Jiang Chen taking care of her. Without him, she literally cannot imagine how messy her life is going to get. Besides, Jiang Chen loved her like crazy. She convinced herself he's just throwing a tantrum. Sure, she still likes Song Jingnian. He is her classic childhood white moonlight after all. She has craved him for years, but actually giving up on Jiang Chen? She just cannot do it, seeing the pure conflict in her daughter's eyes. Mother Tang pulls out yet another document from the drawer, and when Yuwei looks, she sees the massive title of a gratitude agreement with Jiang Chen's signature at the bottom. Her eyes go wide as she asks her mother what on earth this means. Since it is her own daughter, Mother Tang decides it is finally time to be honest.
Back when Song Jingnian married and left, Yuwei completely fell apart and became incredibly depressed.
So her mother wanted someone to help her move on, and Jiang Chen needed to repay a debt.
The two of them made a quick deal. Talk about a crazy plot twist.
Jiang Chen would stay with Yuwei for 5 years to help her heal from her ex.
After that, his debt was paid. Honestly, Jiang Chen was an absolute saint during those 5 years. But he always drew a line, which is why he never called her anything but auntie. Mother Tang actually hoped that Song Jingnian would never come back for the rest of his life.
She would have treated Jiang Chen like a real son-in-law, but the 5-year contract just ended.
Song Jingnian returned to the country, and her daughter got into a massive car wreck trying to meet him. While Mother Tang was hesitating on how to say it, Jiang Chen already asked for a divorce. After hearing all of this, Tang Yuwei literally went numb and tuned out everything else. Her hands gripped the gratitude contract so hard they would not stop shaking.
Her mind went completely blank. What on earth did she just hear?
So for the past 5 years, his kindness was nothing but him paying back a debt?
He never actually loved her at all, which is why the second Song Jingnian came back, he was so desperate to get a divorce, but the genuine love in his eyes before could not be a lie.
Was that all a lie too? If he really did not care about her?
Why would he jump into the ocean for her and treat her perfectly for 5 years?
With a conflicted look, she scanned the paper, clearly listing what he had to do over the last 5 years. The further down she read, the darker and more completely horrified her face became. From literally risking his life for her safety to handling every single chore around the house. Every single nice thing he did was just a contract obligation with zero real emotion. Tang Yuwei's last shred of hope was completely crushed by those endless, brutal terms. Honestly, I'd be mad too.
Pure, unadulterated rage flooded into her eyes like a massive, unstoppable broken dam.
It was enough to break her. Then, a sharp rip. The contract was instantly shredded to pieces in her hands. To Mother Tang, this was crazy. Her daughter had always been exceptionally calm, only ever losing control when Song Jingnian moved away. This was only the second time she had ever lost it, so Mother Tang quietly swallowed her words. Tang Yuwei took a few deep, heavy breaths to force herself to calm down. Since Jiang Chen had signed this entire contract with her own mother, then Mother Tang definitely knew everything about why he left and where he went. She looked up at her mother with a tiny sliver of hope, begging her, "Mom, you must know where Jiang Chen went, right?" Mother Tang just stared at her in silence. She definitely knew, especially since his plane ticket out of the country. Those travel plans were booked directly by her, but Jiang Chen had begged Mother Tang. She had promised never to reveal where he went, so she looked at her daughter with a deep apology. "I cannot tell you," she said, giving a very bitter, helpless laugh. "Even if I told you, it would not matter, because honestly, he already expected this day would come."
He knew that as her mother, she would eventually cave and tell her everything about his departure.
She would definitely break, so he made other plans. He did not even go to the country she originally booked for him, and Tang Yuwei instantly deflated in despair.
She had absolutely no idea he could ever walk away this cleanly and permanently.
Just like how he suddenly barged into her entire life in the first place. But Mother Tang only felt a tiny hint of regret, having no other reaction to this. She carefully asked about her and Song Jingnian when her phone suddenly started ringing with a loud buzz. She picked up, and her sister Tang Chen frantically yelled through the receiver in a pure panic. "Get back here quick! Song Jingnian is in deep trouble!" By the time she rushed home,
she saw a group of strange foreigners outside. The woman leading them looked incredibly cold and distant.
She was glaring coldly at Song Jingnian while he sobbed with his face covered, and Tang Yuwei recognized her instantly. That was literally his ex-wife! Now this is the drama we signed up for. Sharp-eyed Tang Chen quickly waved her over, and hearing her voice, everyone turned to look right at her. Song Jingnian's ex-wife was right there, sizing Tang Yuwei up with an incredibly intense stare. That heavy, suffocating glare made Yuwei super uneasy, but she still forced herself to step right in front of Jingnian. Yuwei looks at Miss Yang and demands to know what business she has at the Tang house. Yang Ting just scoffs, asking if Miss Tang seriously has no idea why she showed up here? She says she was married to Jingnian for 5 years, and Yuwei spent that whole time harassing him.
Honestly, she adds, their divorce was basically all thanks to Yuwei's endless meddling. Yuwei is left totally speechless, wondering how her secret weekly trips abroad for 5 years got exposed. She only went to secretly check on Jingnian, and she always thought she covered her tracks perfectly. Even the gifts she brought were just ordinary things, but Yang Ting looks at her like she's a total idiot. See, Yang Ting and Jingnian had a flash marriage, but she genuinely wanted to build a real life with him.
She truly loved him, but everything changed once she fully took over her massive family business.
Getting completely bogged down in corporate restructuring and endless work, she ended up ignoring her husband. Whenever she saw his lonely social media posts, she kept promising herself she would explain things. But endless business calls always got in the way, and that's exactly when things started going downhill. Suddenly, Jingnian started receiving all these strange little gifts that you couldn't even buy in America. Ting got suspicious and checked the security cameras, only to make a shocking discovery. It turned out Yuwei was secretly flying over just to drop these gifts right at their doorstep. Absolutely furious, Ting ended up throwing all those packages right at Jingnian's feet, sparking a massive, explosive argument. After endless bitter fights over the situation, Jingnian secretly divorced her behind her back and fled back to China. Ting glares at Yuwei and mockingly praises her for having such wonderful manners.
Imagine having a husband of your own, yet constantly obsessing over someone else's man. That line instantly drains all the color from Yuwei's face as she stammers that she's already divorced.
Behind her, Jingnian snaps his head up in absolute shock, unable to believe what he's hearing. Honestly, he always knew Yuwei had major feelings for him ever since they were kids. But he only ever saw her as a little sister, so when a friend warned him about her upcoming confession, on that exact night, he was actually planning to bring his real girlfriend home to meet his parents. To completely avoid any drama with Yuwei, he quickly married Ting and left the country. Sure, the wedding was incredibly rushed, but Ting really did love him in the beginning. But then her work took over, and on top of that, other men kept trying to provoke him. With all the mind games and her always explaining things too late, their marriage began to crumble. As their relationship cracked, Yuwei kept closely tracking every single one of his sad social media posts. That is exactly why those mysterious packages kept showing up right outside his house in America. He knew Yuwei was married too, and he realized how much chaos her reckless behavior could cause. It was bound to ruin both of their marriages, which is why he tried to get rid of them. But on the exact day he tried to throw them out, Ting caught him completely red-handed, making him look incredibly guilty. That was the final straw that broke their marriage, leading him to quietly divorce and head back home. His parents were overseas and couldn't help, so he planned to just check into one of his family's hotels. But somehow, Yuwei found out about his divorce and immediately tracked him down. Jingnian, however, has always been a pretty timid guy. Honestly, the most daring thing he'd ever done in his life was secretly divorcing Ting. So when Yuwei cornered him, he tried his absolute best to reject her and stand his ground. He clearly told her he already had a place to stay, but she completely ignored him. She forcefully dragged him right back to the Tang estate, where he secretly hoped our MC would just kick him out. He was actually relieved, thinking he could use the MC's rejection as the perfect excuse to leave. But to his absolute shock, the MC actually let him stay, ruining his backup plan entirely. He secretly moved out while she was away, trying to save their years of friendship. He honestly wanted to keep their bond alive, but every single time he rejected her, she completely misread his signals, which only made things incredibly stressful for him. Hearing about Zhang Chen divorcing her and leaving only piled massive guilt onto his shoulders. Honestly, he should have never returned. Meanwhile, Yang Ting walks in, completely ignoring Tang Yuwei, and drags Song Jingnian right out from behind her, prompting Tang Yuwei to instantly grab for him. But Yang Ting's bodyguards block her path. Yang Ting pleads, telling Jingnian she was wrong in the past. She apologizes right there, promising things will be different. None of that toxic stuff will happen again, so she asks if he will finally come home with her. She withdrew the divorce papers. Song Jingnian hesitates. Tang Yuwei panics, begging him not to agree. You can see the absolute panic in her eyes because she knows exactly what's at stake. If he goes back to the woman who shattered his heart for years, he'll just repeat the same tragic mistake. Even her sister Tang Qian chips in, desperately claiming that her sister is actually the best option for him. Song Jingnian looks down at Yang Ting, tightly clutching his hand.
takes a deep breath and makes a choice. He looks up and gently thanks Tang Yuwei for taking care of him during this time. Those words completely shatter Tang Yuwei right on the spot.
He explains how he has always been too weak to say no or stand up for himself. He is grateful she always protected him, but now that he finally has the courage to speak up,
His tears of fear were completely misunderstood by her as some kind of romantic signal.
he apologizes for the mix-up, admitting that Jiang Chen was actually a good man all along. He even wishes he could apologize to him before telling Tang Yuwei they should never meet again.
Honestly, this whole drama is a complete mess. I can't even look away.
The villa is left dead silent, with only Tang Yuwei, whose mother finds her completely broken once again.
Her mother is furious.
She is tired of her daughter ruining her health over constant relationship drama. Except this time around, there is absolutely no one like Jiang Chen left to pull her out of the dirt.
One devastating blow after another completely changes her, turning her into a hollow shell of her former self.
Naturally, the internet spreads this juicy drama all the way to Italy, where Jiang Chen is living his best life.
As he walks out of his art studio, a close friend runs up to show him the latest gossip.
He barely glances at the screen while carrying his paintings. He just shrugs it off with a simple hum, leaving his friend looking completely baffled by his lack of care.
Jiang Chen just gives a helpless shrug, asking what kind of reaction his friend was actually expecting from him.
Their social circle is tiny, so everyone back home already knew about his dramatic exit anyway.
After all, her getting into a car crash for another man was massive news.
People also knew about his counterattacks, but the way his new friends react to the story
Is night and day compared to the toxic crowd Tang Yuwei kept around?
They call her completely shameless for throwing away such a great guy just to chase a married man.
His friend throws his arms up, venting about how embarrassing her behavior is.
He is so furious on his behalf, saying he would have personally slapped her if he were him.
Jiang Chen just chuckles.
He stopped caring the moment he left.
Late that night, just as he finishes his final painting, the silence is shattered by a phone call.
It is an old classmate calling him from back home, completely out of the blue. The second he picks up, his friend screams his name in absolute excitement, delivering some wild news.
He yells that Tang Yuwei has officially lost her mind, leaving Jiang Chen completely stunned.
That is when our boy Jiang Chen finally finds out what happened after his divorce from Tang Yuwei. With her precious first love leaving her behind, Tang Yuwei completely spiraled into a depressed mess.
She was always drinking at home. Honestly, if this was the past,
Jiang Chen would have already cooked up some hangover soup, but without his care now?
She suddenly realized how good she had it with him. Typical regret trope, right? Her urge to track him down grew insane, but too bad he never went to the country Tom arranged. She had zero clue where he was, and she even abandoned her own company just to find him.
She even started hunting down and punishing every single person who had ever made Jiang Chen suffer. Even that annoying bully, Tang Chang, got forcibly shipped off to Australia. Talk about instant karma.
This level of obsessive revenge? Yeah, she was definitely losing her mind at this point. Jiang Chen just looks down at the roses on his windowsill. From the moment he started repaying them, he only saw Tang Yuwei as a job. He just wanted to clear his debt and leave. He wanted to escape that country for good. He originally planned to head to the country Tom picked out, but changed his mind last minute.
Instead, he bought a new plane ticket and flew straight to Italy the moment he landed.
From then on, he poured his entire heart and soul into building his new career.
He never spared a single thought for Tang Yuwei until hearing about her absolute downfall today.
He only has one thing to say to her late regret. It is completely worthless.
Besides, he doesn't love her anymore, so why should he care if she regrets it now? He just grabs his sketchbook and heads to the art studio as usual. But walking out,
he spots his close friend Wen Nuwan waiting at the door with some fresh bread.
Jiang Chen smiles and hands over the birthday gift he carefully prepared for her. They head to the art studio chatting and laughing together only to find out today's class is actually canceled. Apparently, some legendary art master is visiting the campus today to give a massive guest lecture. So they pack up their gear and head over to the lecture hall, which is already absolutely packed.
Jiang Chen and Wen Nuan squeeze through the crowd just to snag the very last two seats at the back. A soft knock sounds at the door, and the noisy room suddenly goes dead silent. But the moment the speaker actually steps inside, the entire crowd completely loses it.
No joke, this legendary master is insanely handsome, and in the art world, they have seen plenty of gorgeous people, but honestly, nobody even comes close to his level. He is literally built different, but as Jiang Shen takes a closer look at his face, he completely stops breathing. Oh, he knows this guy. It has been such a long time.
The man smiles right at Jiang Chen, and just like that, our boy's eyes start tearing up.
Meet Liu Yu, Jiang Chen's childhood best friend from the orphanage they grew up in. Since Liu Yu and their other friend, Su Wanro, were older, they always protected him back then.
But fate had different plans. Both of them got adopted by loving families early on,
Leaving Jiang Chen behind until the wealthy Tang family finally stepped in to sponsor his education.
Staring at Jiang Chen's thin frame, Liu Yu's eyes are filled with absolute heartbreak. Under his and Su Wanro's wing, Jiang Chen used to be such a happy, protected little kid. But fate is cruel. They were both adopted by different families, splitting them all up. They were way too young to have phones, so they completely lost touch. Liu never stopped searching for them, desperately trying to put the pieces of their childhood back.
Finally, he managed to track down Su Wanro, but they still had no idea where Jiang Chen was.
That is, until Su Wanro spotted a wedding announcement on the Tang family's official website.
She finally realized Jiang Chen had married Tang Yuwei, and she knew exactly how badly she treated him.
She felt so much pain seeing him like this. He used to be such a cheerful guy. But that toxic marriage completely broke him, leaving him covered in scars. When she heard he went to Italy,
Su Wanrong and Su Wanro actually packed up and moved to Rome to support him. The two talked for ages.
that was when Jiang Chen found out Liu Yu and Su Wanro had married, moving there just to see him sooner. Seeing them in Rome, he broke down, no more holding back. He wanted to let out all the pain he had bottled up for years. Later, meeting Su Wanrong at dinner, it made him burst into tears all over again. The three of them sat and talked late into the night.
Gently placing his favorite dishes in front of him, Su Wanro asked about his future plans.
As Jiang Chen finished his last bite of steak, she asked what his next steps were.
He shook his head. For now, he just wanted to graduate.
After that, maybe host his own art exhibition, or just find a job he actually enjoyed doing.
Going back home, he felt completely lost.
Visiting Dean Mom was a must. After all, on the day they said goodbye,
she had secretly slipped some money into his bag, but returning meant risking a run-in with Tang Yuwei.
Honestly, just thinking about the absolute madness his toxic ex-wife pulled made him frown with anxiety.
Seeing his distress, the couple quickly changed the subject, telling him to just focus on eating.
They told him to take it day by day, promising they would always have his back.
Time flew by, and another autumn arrived. Finally, it was time for his graduation ceremony.
Looking around, he was flooded with emotion. A graduation ceremony delayed by 5 whole years.
Finally, he made it. His friends cheered, wishing him a happy graduation.
Bouquets of flowers were piled in his arms as they headed out for their final dinner together.
Jiang Chen let loose and drank a bit.
As the bitter alcohol burned his throat, sadness hit him, realizing they might never see each other like this again.
They laughed and cried together until midnight. Then, a week later, it was time.
Packing his bags, he said goodbye to Italy and flew back home with Liu Yu and Su Wanru. Not for good, just a temporary visit. Mainly to see Dean Mom, but he also had a favor to fulfill for a friend.
Co-hosting an art exhibition was the goal. When he finally saw Dean Mom after 2 years,
tears immediately welled up in his eyes as she patted his hand.
Listening proudly, she smiled as he talked about finishing school and chasing his dream.
Her eyes were full of pride.
Suddenly, she remembered something and mentioned that shortly after he had left, that toxic ex, Tang Yuwei, actually came to the orphanage trying to hunt him down. Hearing that name after so long made Jiang Chen completely freeze up in shock.
The dean continued, saying that just by looking at how miserable Tang Yuwei looked, knowing she had treated him terribly, she did not tell her a single thing. Honestly, serves her right.
After having dinner with her, Jiang Chen headed back to the villa. Since his trip back was only temporary, Liu Yu and Su Wanro, they insisted on hosting him at their place. As soon as he walked in,
rushing over to welcome him, Su Wanru made sure he had some hot soup.
Talking about next week's art exhibit kept them up a bit before he finally went to rest.
Meanwhile, at the Tang Group office, Tang Yuwei was staring at a photo on her desk. Completely lost in thought. It had been 2 whole years.
Bro, even after using her family's massive influence, she still could not find any trace of him.
Staring at his face in the picture, she could only let out a bitter, regretful smile.
This is their wedding photo, and shockingly, the only picture they took together in 5 whole years.
You really don't appreciate what you have until it is gone, and Yuwei is finally learning that lesson the hard way. When Jiang Chen first walked out, she figured she was just missing how well he used to take care of her.
But everything flipped once she found his old agreement with her mother, proving he only married her to repay a debt. After that, seeing how everything played out, she finally had to face the brutal truth.
She didn't just miss him, she was actually in love with him, but she had ignored it because of that toxic ex, Song Jingnian.
But by the time she finally admitted her feelings to herself, it was already too late. Way too late. Jiang Chen was long gone from her life. Back in her office, a sudden knock on the door breaks her trance.
Her assistant steps in with an invitation to a new art exhibition happening downtown tomorrow.
She accepts. But honestly, it was only after their divorce that Yuwei realized how little she actually knew him.
She used to think his painting trips were just a passing hobby when he came back home. But turns out Jiang Chen was actually a classically trained artist who had been painting his entire life.
If he hadn't given up studying abroad to marry her, he would already be a massive star in the art world.
So now, maybe to understand him better, or just to feel close to him again, she attends every show.
She makes sure to visit absolutely every art exhibition held in the city. Meanwhile, Jiang Chen's former classmate sends him the official guest list for the big gallery opening. The classmate wanted him to have a heads up so he wouldn't be caught off guard. And seeing Tang Yuwei's name printed right there on the list, yeah, Jiang Chen completely freezes. His friend notices and immediately offers to let him skip the press interviews to avoid her. But Jiang Chen just smiles and shakes his head. It is really no big deal. He knew from the second he landed back in the country that they would cross paths eventually. No escaping destiny. Besides, what is there to fear? He repaid his debt to her family a long time ago. He owes them absolutely nothing.
They are just strangers now. And then the big day arrives.
Crowds of art lovers start flooding through the doors, following the signs straight into the main gallery. Yuwei blends into the crowd. She has been to so many of these lately that she actually knows her stuff now. She can appreciate the beauty on the walls, but none of them truly capture her attention. Until she stops dead in her tracks in front of one specific piece. Minimalist, simple, clean lines. It is just a painting of mountains with a simple plaque next to it revealing the title. The title is Freedom. Instantly, she thinks of him. For 5 years, he lived entirely for her, waiting at home 24/7 until he lost his own identity. He had zero freedom. Something so basic was a luxury to him. As she stands there, lost in her regrets, a very familiar voice suddenly echoes nearby. She turns around, searching for the sound, and her heart completely stops. There he is, the man she has been desperately dreaming of. Her entire world goes dead silent. The only thing she can see is him. Jiang Chen is busy talking to some guests when she suddenly calls out his name. Before he can even turn around, a familiar sweet perfume hits his nose as she throws her arms around him.
Yuwei clings to him like her life depends on it, trembling and sobbing out his name. She begs him, saying he is finally back. But just as Jiang Chen goes to push her off, another figure steps in first, aggressively ripping her away.
They quickly ask if Jiang Chen is okay, and he just silently shakes his head.
It is Li Yu, and his glare is ice cold as he asks how she even has the nerve to show her face here. Every time Liu Yu looks at her, he is reminded of the absolute hell Jiang Chen endured for 5 years. The anger boils over, while Yuwei just stands there desperately trying to find the words to explain.
Jiang Chen steps in to stop Liu Yu, suggesting they take this elsewhere.
He does not want the art exhibition they worked so hard on to get ruined.
So they head upstairs to the second-floor cafe instead. Li Yu blocks Tang Yuwei, shielding Jiang Chen and Su Wanro. He asks her directly, Jiang Chen divorced you, why are you here?
Tang Yuwei looks past Liu Yu, staring at Jiang Cheng's cold face.
It feels like her heart is being squeezed to death. He had never looked at her like this.
Seeing him again, she has a million questions bottled up inside. But all she can choke out is, why? Su Won-ro rolls her eyes. What a stupid question. Zhang Cheng stares back calmly, saying his debt is fully paid. Naturally, he had to leave. He knew she'd eventually find out about his secret debt. She trembles, asking if his 5 years of kindness were just business. Tang Yuwei clenches her fists, completely shattered. Jiang Cheng confirms it with absolute brutal calm.
Ever since they signed that contract, it was only business.
He constantly reminded himself of that boundary.
That is why he prepared the divorce papers early. He married young, back when he was naive and simple-minded. Fearing he would get lost in the illusion, he stayed prepared. Whenever his heart slipped, those papers snapped him back to reality.
Did he ever try to love her?
Maybe he did, but she constantly abandoned him for Song Jingnian. Any normal person would get exhausted. Not hating her is already a miracle. 5 years is both a lifetime and a single flash. His words are brutally cold, and honestly, the reality hurts. Sentence by sentence, Tang Yuwei's face loses all color. He tells her past, present, or future. He never loved her, and he never will. Only a debt remains, and he does not care anymore.
He just wants to get back to his exhibition.
Tang Yuwei tries to block him, but Liu Yu stops her. She is left watching his back vanish behind the door. Thankfully, the exhibition goes smoothly anyway. It ends up being a massive success. To celebrate, his friends book his favorite restaurant. Before the food arrives, a massive bouquet of red roses is delivered. The courier asks for Mr. Zhang, saying Miss Tang sent them.
He does not even touch them.
Instead, he tells the courier to take them back immediately.
Tell her he hates red roses. Those are Song Jingnian's favorite.
He only likes thorny wild roses. Talk about a vibe killer. The waiter instantly froze on the spot, holding the roses in his hands. He is totally stuck, not knowing whether to advance or retreat, while Jiang Chen stays completely silent. In the end, the waiter quietly slips away, but this does not stop Tang Yuwei at all. She still sends a bouquet of roses to his studio every single day, but before they even get inside, they are immediately thrown straight into the trash. Talk about instant karma. But at another art exhibition, Tang Yuwei corners him, demanding to know why he refuses to accept her flowers. Jiang Chen just stares at her, then lets out a super sarcastic laugh. They were literally married for 5 years, yet she somehow knows absolutely nothing about him. He tells her straight up, because I do not like you. I do not like anything you send. Tang Yuwei, why can we not just move on? We are divorced now. Shouldn't you be the happiest one about this? She takes a deep, shaky breath. Her eyes are filled with tears like shattered starlight, her voice trembling with regret. She instinctively reaches out to grab his hand, crying out that it is not like that.
She begs Jiang Chen, saying she was never happy about the divorce and is too used to him.
Now that he is gone, she finally realizes that he is the one she truly loves. Typical regressive regret. As for Song Jingnian, she claims her obsession was just some childhood stubbornness. Since he is gone now, she asks why they cannot just go back to the way they were. Go back? Jiang Chen is completely dazed for a second, remembering those past days. Every single day back then was pure torture, and he has zero desire to go back there. He dodges her hand, his voice dropping to sub-zero temperatures as he addresses her. He tells her to actually listen to herself. She only misses him out of habit. He was basically a live-in nanny to her, except no normal nanny would risk their life. He literally almost died for her, and she calls that love? It is just guilt, honestly. Does she even believe her own words? Tang Yuwei's face goes completely pale at his words. Ever since he entered the Tang family at 18, he had never seen her look so defeated. Tang Yuwei was always so arrogant, always looking down on everyone from her high horse. Seeing her look this miserable is honestly so satisfying, all because he stopped catering to her. Instead of playing along, he directly exposes her selfish reality right to her face. Without giving her another glance, he just turns around and walks away, absolutely cold. But just as he leaves the art studio, he suddenly gets a call from Mother Tang. Honestly, he only feels gratitude toward Mother Tang because she gave him a real chance. Back when he first started college, she helped him when he had absolutely nothing. He had no money left after tuition, and marrying into the family for 5 years was his way out. It was his way of paying back every single cent they ever invested in his education.
So when she calls him, he feels obligated to go over and see what she wants.
His friend Liao Yu looks at him with deep worry, reminding him they're already even. There is no need to go back there, especially if they try to corner him again. Since Li Yu was adopted, his new family taught him how toxic wealthy households can be. They showed him that repaying a debt should never mean destroying your own life. But Mother Tang basically demanded that Jiang Chen sacrifice his entire youth to heal her daughter. Forcing a young guy to throw away his future and give up his college education? Wasting 5 years in a dead marriage is honestly so toxic and disgusting. And of course, Lu Yu was totally right. After some basic small talk, Mother Tang brings it up. She immediately shifts the entire conversation back to Tang Yuwei, dropping subtle hints. She is practically begging him to give her daughter another chance. Li Yu was spot on. Honestly, Tang Yuwei's terrible attitude was entirely her and Song Jingnian's own fault. But they just had to drag Jing Cheng, an innocent guy, into their mess. His future? Completely gone. He lost his freedom for 5 wasted years under the guise of paying back a favor. And he was expected to thank them? Nah, that is insane. Zheng Cheng never wanted this. If he had finished college and studied abroad like he planned, just a short delay of maybe 2 years, he could have easily repaid the Tang family's sponsorship with interest. But Mother Tang spoiled her daughter way too much to let her suffer even a single bit. So she eagerly dragged Zheng Cheng down just to keep her daughter's life perfect. Her daughter's future was protected, his completely ignored. Nobody cared. Mother Tang just stared at the handsome man before her. Her heart was filled with mixed feelings of satisfaction and deep regret. Someone like him would make a great son-in-law, but her main regret was...
Back then, Tang Yuwei was so obsessed with Song Jingnian that she missed out on him.
But get this, now that she dumped the other guy, her mom wants Zheng Cheng back. Sounds great, but hearing Mother Tang's greedy thoughts, Zhang Cheng said nothing. He simply slid a pre-prepared bank card right in front of her face. The card held double the amount of money the Tang family had ever given him. Without their forced favor, he would have only been delayed by 2 years. He would have easily paid them back with interest. Besides, the Tangs always loved doing charity. Zhang Cheng wasn't the only student they funded. They just sent regular payments. All these years, the cash was just wired automatically into their bank accounts. They never went around demanding favors from any of those other kids. He was just too naive, practically handed himself over to them. Now he finally gets it, but he has zero energy to argue with them anymore. Leaving the bank card behind, he just walked out without waiting for her reaction. Mother Tang was completely stunned as a wave of sudden anger welled up inside her. But remembering the powerful Lu and Su families backing him, she had to swallow her pride. The moment he stepped outside, he bumped right into Tang Yuwei, who was just getting back.
Jiang Cheng, why are you here? Her voice carried a mix of shock and pure joy.
He sneered. Your mother wants me to do exactly what I did 7 years ago.
She wants me to throw away my entire career just to waste my life by your side?
Tang Yuwei went dead pale as she suddenly remembered the agreement from 2 years ago. According to that contract, during those 5 years of forced gratitude, he had to abandon everything just to cater to her every whim. A normal person would go insane in a year. He did 5. On top of her awful attitude back then, his life was basically a living hell. Pain surged through her entire body as she clenched her fists and whispered an apology. But Zhang Cheng had zero patience left and did not even spare her a glance. He brushed right past her, left her standing there. She stayed away. He enjoyed the peace. That peace lasted until the Liu family banquet, where he was invited as Liu Yu's brother. Suddenly, a sharp, annoying voice cut through the party from behind. "Why are you here?" He turned around only to see Tang Qian charging straight at him.
After all, she is their daughter, and Mother Tang could not stand seeing her suffer in Australia.
So she begged Father Chang to bring her back, and now she is staring right at our boy Jiang Chen. Tang Qian is absolutely seething, screaming that it is all his fault and he should have just divorced quietly. Instead, he got her sister to banish her to Australia for 2 whole years before Father Tang finally brought her back. Right behind Jiang Chen is a massive champagne tower, and his first instinct is to try and dodge her. But he misses a step, and honestly, thank God Su Wanru was quick on her feet here.
She grabs him and pulls him safely behind her, but Tang Qian is going way too fast to stop, crashing headfirst straight into the giant champagne tower with an absolutely massive boom.
Every single guest immediately turns around, only to see Tang Qian completely wrecked in the middle of the mess. Broken glass is literally scattered everywhere, and she is covered in painful, bloody cuts.
Tang Yuwei yells out her name and rushes over in absolute panic, desperate to help her sister up.
The second she is touched, Tang Qian starts crying her eyes out, while Su Wanro carefully inspects Jiang Chen from head to toe.
Only after making sure he is completely unharmed does she turn to glare at Tang Qian on the floor.
She snaps that the Tang family has terrible manners, running up out of nowhere just to attack Jiang Chen.
What did Jiang Chen even do to you? She asks, because if she remembers correctly, 2 years ago, it was also this exact same Miss Tang and her little gang who pushed our Jiang Chen into a champagne tower.
As soon as she hears those words, Tang Yuwei's outstretched hand completely freezes up in midair.
She stares at Jiang Chen hiding behind Su Wanro with a deeply conflicted face, while he just looks at the absolute mess. A cold, mocking smirk plays on Jiang Chen's face as the crowd around them starts whispering and pointing fingers. Embarrassed and red-faced, Tang Qian completely loses it, pointing straight at him and screaming that it is all his fault.
If it was not for him, she would have never been shipped off to Australia in the first place.
She thought her family background would let her live like royalty over there, but her sister was determined to teach her a lesson.
Her credit cards were cut off entirely, leaving her to survive on a tiny allowance from their mother. Barely scraping by, she blames him. But who was the one who constantly looked down on him and mocked him back then? And who was the one who actually banished her? She cannot even get her own facts straight. Yet here she is, still blaming him. Jiang Chen just looks at her with absolute freezing contempt. He calmly asks if she left her brain back in Australia, and hearing him insult her intelligence, she goes absolutely ballistic. Just as Tang Chen tries to stand up and scream some more, Tang Yuwei snaps and tells her to shut up. She coldly warns her if she wants to go back to Australia, but the brat complains that her sister is siding with him. According to her, he is nothing but a skinny loser with 0 good qualities. He has absolutely no style, no class, and is just a nobody. Just as she calls him an orphan, bam, Jiang Chen steps up and slaps her right across the face. He cold-heartedly tells her that being an orphan is still infinitely better than being a classless, spoiled brat. Then he turns directly to his ex-wife, telling her she seriously needs to control her own family. Tang Yuwei clenches her fists in pure embarrassment, her expression freezing over as she turns to her secretary, Song Nian. She orders him to take her sister to the hospital, and Song Nian does not hesitate. He quickly steps forward, covering Tang Qian's loud mouth, and drags her, kicking and screaming out of the room. Tang Yuwei looks incredibly guilty as she tries to apologize, but he coldly tells her she is talking to the wrong person. He draws a clear line between them, just as the butler quickly leads Lu Yu into the room. Since this is a high-class banquet, Li Yu had already heard what happened on his way over.
The butler gave him a full breakdown of the absolute circus that just went down.
He walks right past Tang Yuwei, completely ignoring her even though she is desperately trying to apologize to him. Instead, he only has eyes for his wife and his beloved brother-in-law, checking on them with deep concern. He asks if they are hurt, and both of them quietly shake their heads. Only then does Li Yu turn to Tang Yuwei, coldly stating that his assistant will contact her to settle the bill for this entire disaster. After wrapping up, the host ordered the butler to escort the two of them upstairs to rest. Fortunately, this small drama did not ruin the rest of the grand banquet. Late into the night, Tang Yuwei finally finished hashing out the compensation details with the Liu family's butler. When she finally got back to the Tang family mansion, she noticed the entire place was brightly lit up. Seeing her return, the family nanny rushed up to her in a total panic. "Please go talk to your father, eldest miss. The younger miss is still so young after all." Listening to the nanny, Tang Yuwei stepped inside and instantly saw Tang Qian kneeling on the coal floor. Red slap marks covered her sister's face, while over on the sofa across the room,
Mother Tang was quietly sobbing with her head down, and Father Tang stood there holding a whip in absolute rage. Glaring at Tong Xian, he roared, "I see you have been completely spoiled rotten all these years."
Like, who do you think Jiang Cheng is, and what kind of insane status does he hold in the Liu family?
No shot you actually provoked him, and since the Tang family businesses are mostly overseas, Father Tang spent most of his time working abroad, leaving his wife to handle every single thing at home.
It was only this year that Father Tang finally shifted his business focus back home. But after hearing the butler list all their wild antics over the years, and trust me, they were crazy, Father Tang almost passed out. Since you do not know how to behave, you can just go pack your bags and rot in Australia.
Do not ever come back in this lifetime. Kneeling on the floor, Tang Qian shrieked out for her dad. Stepping in to diffuse the tension, Tang Yuwei quickly walked over to plead for her.
Dad, my sister is still young.
Young? Are you kidding me?
She is in her 20s and still acts brainless. And you, what is in your head besides romance?
Seeing her daughters getting absolutely flamed, Mother Tang could not help but try and defend them. But the moment Father Tang heard her voice, he realized he had not even dealt with her yet. And what about you? The second he remembered the daughter she was supposed to raise? Getting into 2 car accidents over some guy and constantly crying about wanting to die?
The fire of rage in his eyes flared right back up, and honestly, the man was about to explode.
If those 2 are completely brainless, why are you enabling their ridiculous drama? If your daughter wants to throw her life away over a man, then let her go ahead and die. The Tang family has plenty of other children, and yet your daughter learned absolutely nothing useful. She only picked up trashy habits. Not only does she completely disrespect her own brother-in-law, but she also bullies her own elders. What on earth have you been teaching them all these years?
Hearing her mother and sister getting absolutely dragged, Tang Yuwei felt more and more guilty.
But with just one freezing glare, Father Tang locked her in place. Get to the study with your sister right now.
I will deal with you both in a minute. Soon, only Father and Mother Tang remained in the empty living room.
Father Tang stared at his second wife, his eyes filled with pure, unadulterated disappointment.
Before heading overseas, he knew he would be busy, so he had left his most trusted assistant and butler to manage all the important business matters back home.
But before he was even gone for a single month, his assistant and butler literally fled overseas to find him.
That was when he discovered Mother Tang had immediately fired them both the moment she got a taste of power, replacing them with her own loyal followers. Later, while he was still living abroad,
He heard how Tang Yuwei got into 2 car crashes for her white moonlight, literally abandoning her husband.
it finally clicked. Mother Tang had silently raised Tang Yuwei to be completely spoiled. Talk about a major wake-up call.
You see, members of the Tang family are built different, never letting petty emotions hold them back. Family interests always came first, and even if they suffered major heartbreak,
They should bounce back quickly, not rely on some guy's help for 5 whole years. Meanwhile, Tang Qian had spent years running rampant. She was literally a school bully.
But Mrs. Tang just threw money at the bullying victims to make them go away.
She never even scolded Tang Shi once. No wonder our main character got bullied so hard after marriage.
These 2 sisters ran wild, while Mrs. Tang completely looked the other way.
So Tang Fu decides he's staying in the country and tells his wife to go retire at a mountain resort. Talk about a brutal reality check. This one sentence basically ruins Mrs. Tang's entire social life. When she asks if he hates her that much, Tang Fu just looks at his wife coldly. He tells her if he actually hated her, things would have been way worse. A divorce agreement would have been signed on day 1. He doesn't even wait for her reaction.
He walks straight into the study.
Inside, Tang Yuwei and Tang Shi stare at their father in complete silence. For as long as they can remember, their father was always living abroad.
They were always closer to their mother, making the vibe in the room incredibly tense. As the clock on the wall ticks away, Tang Fu finally speaks with a grim expression.
He tells Tang Shi she's staying in Australia and he's confiscating her passport.
No coming back without permission. Then he turns his eyes to his other daughter.
His eyes hold nothing but pure disappointment, all because she had to chase after some guy. Asking if she's even looked at the company's terrible financial reports, he tells her starting right now,
Her cousin from her second uncle's family is taking over as the new CEO. She has to start from the absolute bottom until she actually proves her worth. Both of their cards are officially frozen, and his assistant will only send them 10,000 yuan a month. Even their company shares are confiscated. They'll only get them back when they actually grow up. With every word he says, Tang Xi's face gets paler by the second. Tang Yuwei stays completely silent, but her hands are clenched into tight fists. The news of the Tang family CEO being replaced quickly sweeps through high society, and Su Wanru eagerly shares the gossip. She helps him pack his bags, asking why he's leaving when he barely returned a month ago. Is he seriously heading back to Italy already? He packs his last folded shirt into the suitcase, replying that he has no choice. Originally, he only came back to help a friend host an art exhibition. Now that it's over, it's time to leave. But because of some messy family drama, Li Yu and his wife have to stay behind to handle it. They'll join him abroad later. Plus, if our main character doesn't leave now, he's bound to run into Tang Yuwei again now that she's no longer the CEO. She'll have way too much free time, and he has absolutely zero interest in dealing with her toxic drama anymore. He zips up the suitcase and carries it to the door. Su Wanru quickly walks over, looking at him with pure curiosity, asking if he still remembers Song Jingnian. His hands freeze at the mention of the name. Song Jingnian is a name he hasn't heard in a really long time. He only remembers that the guy followed his ex-wife back to America. As for what happened next, our lead wasn't bored enough to care, but Su Wanru taps her phone, handing him an American Entertainment article. Song Jingnian is paralyzed. No shot! He widens his eyes as he reads the news, finding out life wasn't great over there. Even though his ex-wife tried her best to shield him, her family, the Yangs, absolutely despised him. Amidst all their mocking, a distracted Song Jingnian tumbled down a flight of stairs, and right at that moment, meanwhile, another spicy scandal leaked about Yang Ting and some other guy, triggering yet another massive fight between them. Honestly, they had no idea how that drama ended, as Su Wanru casually put away her phone. Since Liu Jia had connections with the Su family, Song Jingnian eventually found out that Jiang Chen was actually his younger brother. He actually asked him to deliver an apology, but our main character just listened in absolute silence. Truthfully, Jiang Chen and Song Jingnian should have never crossed paths in the first place. Back when he married Tang Yuwei, Song Jingnian was already married and living halfway across the world. If Tang Yuwei had not constantly wavered between him and Song Jingnian, they would have never ended up in this toxic, messy situation. At the end of the day, it is all her fault. When his friends heard he was moving back to Italy, and leaving for good this time, his local crew threw him a massive send-off party. They kept outing bottle after bottle of red wine, but the hype was just too real to stop there. So they hit up a club, but he did not want to make Su Wanru worry. He skipped the after-party, waved goodbye to his friends, and prepared to head home. Standing by the road to catch a cab, a sudden car horn shattered the night. Jiang Chen! Get in the car, she demanded. Recognizing Tang Yuwei behind the wheel, he instinctively frowned and stepped back. But she clearly was not going to leave until he got inside the vehicle. Traffic was already piling up behind her with multiple cars honking like crazy. Left with no choice, he hopped into the back seat. She just smirked and hit the gas. They drove in dead silence all the way until she parked outside the grand villa. He muttered a quick thanks and went to open the door, but Tang Yuwei suddenly called out, Jiang Chen. His hand froze on the door handle as he stared at her with complete confusion. Jiang Chen, what if there was no favor to repay and no Song Jingnian? Would we still be together? Her voice carried a fragile, desperate hint of hope. Honestly, this is so wild. Like he just heard the funniest joke of his life. He actually laughed out loud. Word by word, he spelled it out. Because you could never forget him, we were always doomed to fail. Looking back through the rearview mirror, he stared at her with absolute, icy distance. There was nothing but pure indifference. And honestly, even without all those external issues, there is no shot they could ever work out. As a wife, she failed completely. She never bothered to learn a single thing about him, not even his basic food allergies. She did not know his phone number, and she never once thought of giving him a gift. From day one, he was completely invisible to her, treated like a totally disposable option. The only reason she is hurting now is because he spent 5 years spoiling her, and now he is gone. That is not real love.
Want to know what actual love looks like? It is complete devotion and trading absolute sincerity for sincerity. It means remembering every little detail about your partner and choosing to grow old together. You eliminate every single distraction and stand firmly by their side, no matter what. You trust them, protect them, and actually listen to their side of the story. When misunderstandings happen, you do not just shut down, and when real trouble hits, you choose them instantly, without a second thought. Which of those things did she ever do? She was a pampered young mistress who only expected the world to worship her.
She never learned how to actually love another human being. If she had understood even a fraction of that,
she would not have constantly flown across the globe to see her white moonlight while married. And she certainly would not have kept secretly comforting him after he already had a wife.
Talk about causing massive, toxic drama for Song Jingnian and his actual wife?
Jiang Chen did not care about her reaction at all. He just kept talking. If there was no favor to repay,
Jiang Chen tells her that if they never met, he would have had his own life.
Tang Yuwei just stares at him blankly, bitterness completely filling her throat. She parts her lips to speak, but the words just won't come out. She silently watches him step out, but right as he heads toward the villa,
A blinding high beam suddenly hits his face, making him instinctively block his eyes.
suddenly, a sharp screech of brakes rings out, along with Tang Yuwei's panicked scream.
the crazy driver is actually Tang Qian, who is completely blinded by jealousy and rage. Blaming Jiang Chen for all her problems, she has completely lost her mind. She breaks past her guards and drives straight at him at full speed. But out of nowhere, Tang Yuwei reacts instantly and shoves him out of the way. Thanks to that, Jiang Chen escapes with nothing but a few minor scratches. But Tang Yuwei takes the full hit because Tang Qian kept slamming the gas. She ends up paralyzed and spends over a month fighting for her life in the intensive care unit. Before the other powerful family can even step in, Tang Yuwei's furious father takes action. He throws Tang Qian straight into prison, and honestly, she totally deserves to rot there. During her long stay at the hospital, Jiang Chen actually goes to visit her. Since she did risk her life for him, seeing her hooked up to all those tubes is rough. He can only let out a heavy sigh, his eyes filled with mixed emotions. It seems Tang Yuwei finally took his harsh words in the car to heart. But for our main character, this realization is just way too little too late. Her saving him was just a delayed apology, so he just stares at her silently. He finally turns and leaves, but her sudden accident changes all his plans.
His move to Italy is delayed, and he spends the next few months recovering at home.
Then one morning, word comes in that Tang Yuwei has finally woken up. She learns that Tang Qian was the culprit and that she'll never walk again. Surprisingly, she doesn't break down at all and remains completely, eerily quiet.
Sometime later, as Jiang Chen is packing up his bags once again,
He stumbles upon an old ring in his drawer, the one from when he jumped into the sea. It's the exact same ring she used to propose to him 1 year ago. But because it was never taken care of, the diamond has already fallen out. The metal band is completely rusted, and he just stares at it for a long time. Honestly, this rusted ring is the absolute perfect answer to the question she asked him.
for 5 long years, he was the only one putting any effort into their marriage.
She just took everything for granted, and without both sides trying, things fell apart. Just like this cheap ring, their entire relationship had already rusted away. Even without all the outside drama, a marriage with zero effort from her was always doomed. Knowing this, he calmly places the ring back inside its little box. He asks his butler to return it to her, and seeing it makes her freeze up. Looking at it, she realizes she had never actually given him a single real gift. Even the only fake ring she had, she ended up giving away to Song Jingnian. A visiting friend spots the rusted ring and gasps in absolute shock.
She asks if this isn't the ring they threw into the ocean for that old bet.
Tang Yuwei stares at the metal band as the memories of that day flood back. She remembers how they carelessly tossed this ring into the deep sea just for a wager. The prize was a prime plot of land promised to whoever's partner could retrieve it. Even though it was a ridiculous bet, they still thoughtfully tied the ring securely onto a fishing line and cast it deep into the sea. But honestly, not a single other person was brave enough to jump in. Except for our boy Su Qingyan, who calmly asked the one who proposed it if the deal was actually real, and once he got a firm yes,
and officially secured the signed land transfer deed, he dove in without hesitation. Watching his frail body get swallowed by waves, her hands gripped the railing white. A sudden panic gripped her heart, and she almost wanted to jump in after him. But a moment later, he surfaced, his hand tightly clutching that very wedding ring. The moment she pulled him into a tight embrace, she was absolutely terrified. A strange, overwhelming fear washed over her, that he might just disappear forever. And only now did she realize that mysterious emotion was actual, deep love.
It turns out he had fallen for him the moment he leaped into the sea.
As the massive wave of regret hit her, she covered her face and wept.
Anyway, the butler did not return to the mansion until late that night,
bringing back a truckload of gifts that left Su Qingyan completely confused. The butler quickly explained that after Tang Yuwei saw that wedding ring, she broke down, cried for ages, and then immediately made a phone call to arrange a whole truck of gifts as compensation for all those lost years.
Su Qingyan stared at the massive pile before slowly unwrapping them one by one.
And that is when he discovered her apologetic gifts literally covered everything. From his 1st to his 18th birthdays, plus every anniversary of their marriage. New Year's, Valentine's Days, she prepared a customized gift for every single milestone. Every single item was something he loved, easily arranged with just one phone call. Yet she delayed it for 7 long years, so he put down the final gift.
He stood up and told the butler to sell everything and donate to charity.
With his departure date drawing near, they had no idea when they would meet again. So his close friends, Li Wu and Suwan Ro, cleared their schedules for him,
taking him from beach sunsets to the Ferris wheel and enjoying delicious street food.
To fancy dinners, this was easily his happiest time in over 20 years. Suwan Ro kept piling food into his bowl and gently urged him to eat.
Eat up, she said, because once you are abroad, finding this taste is impossible.
Even though they hired a private chef and nanny to move with him.
Recreating this exact home-cooked flavor in a foreign country is practically impossible. Honestly, it is impossible, so Su Qingyan just nodded obediently, slowly eating every single bite. Then came the day of his departure. He ran into Tang Yuwei, having no idea why she even showed up. Looking at her sitting there in a wheelchair, he felt a brief flash of pity.
But she acted as if nothing was wrong, simply smiling and saying goodbye.
Once he returned to Italy, he did not go back to his old apartment. Instead, he moved into the gorgeous villa that his friends had prepared.
The 2 servants quickly cleaned the house while the chef prepared his meals.
Over the next week, aside from catching up and dining with old friends, he spent his time scouting venues for his exhibition, busy but genuinely happy. Until one evening when he suddenly received a mysterious phone call. So it turns out the call was not from Liu or Suwan Ro. Instead, it was the orphanage director, delivering the heavy news that Mother Tang had passed away. The director did not really know about all the complicated history between Jiang Chen and the Tang family.
She just knew Mother Tang sponsored him back then and suggested he return to pay his last respects.
In the end, he returned to the country, seeing the mourning banners of the Tang family hanging along the highway. His heart grew quite heavy because, at the end of the day, she was still the one who sponsored him. Paying his respects seemed like the right thing to do, so he stepped inside the funeral hall. There, he saw many other students sponsored by the Tangs, merely nodding at each other with no real conversation. During their call, the orphanage director had actually explained a bit about how Mother Tang passed away. Her health was already failing, and it got even worse after Father Tang sent her to the villa to recover.
As she grew weaker, they kept Tang Xian going to prison and Tang Yuwei getting disabled a total secret from her.
Everything was hidden perfectly, until that one fateful day.
Mother Tang suddenly felt like chatting with Tang Qian on a whim, still believing her daughter was just studying abroad.
She thought Tang Xian was safe in Australia, but when she called, the phone just kept ringing. Panicking, she questioned the maid, who finally stammered out the brutal truth. After all, someone in prison cannot answer a phone. The sudden, overwhelming shock hit her hard. Mother Tang suffered a sudden heart attack and tragically stopped breathing right then and there. Walking deeper into the hall, Jiang Chen immediately spotted Father Tang, whose hair had turned completely white. Next to him was Tang Yuwei, sitting numbly in a wheelchair, holding a white chrysanthemum.
Jiang Chen stood before Mother Tang's portrait, bowed 3 times, and gently set the flower down.
He stared at her photo for a long time, feeling incredibly conflicted about who she was to him.
Honestly, his feelings are so complicated. Like, do you even show gratitude? This family literally ruined 5 years of his youth, yet they also sponsored him to keep studying.
She allowed him to keep studying, but at this point, what's done is done.
All the past bitterness has officially vanished into thin air with her passing. Taking one final look at the portrait, Jiang Chen walked over to Father Tang and bowed slightly.
He quietly offered his condolences, and Father Tang simply nodded back.
He did not say a word. Jiang Chen then walked over to Tang Yuwei. After looking at her for a long moment, he softly offered his condolences, prompting a bitter smile from her.
She did not say anything either, but since a direct relative had passed,
even Tang Qian, who was serving her time in prison, was escorted out by guards for the funeral. Going to prison really humbled Tang Chen, completely stripping away her usual arrogant attitude. Now she is just totally numb, not even flinching when she sees our main character. But the moment she saw her mother's portrait, she collapsed to her knees and wailed in utter despair. Crying out for her mom, the surrounding guests could not bear to watch and turned their heads away. On the day of the burial, a light, somber rain began to fall from the sky. Other powerful families also sent representatives to pay their respects to the late Mother Tang. And it was on this exact day that Liu Yu and Su Wanro finally realized Jiang Chen had secretly slipped back into the country, though they did not press him. Still, he explained the situation to them, and Su Wanru hugged him, promising to protect him if he was threatened. They definitely would not let any threat slide. Later at the graveyard, Su Wanro shared an umbrella with him. They watched Mother Tang's coffin get lowered into the earth while Tang Qian wept until she nearly fainted. The 2 prison guards behind her had to hold her up. Once the burial finally finished, the mourning guests gradually departed, leaving Jiang Chen and Su Wanro walking at the very back. As they discussed their next moves, Tang Yuwei suddenly called out Jiang Chen's name from behind. Jiang Chen turns around to see Tang Yuwei soaking in the rain, asking him to walk with her. Su Wanro looks on with pure worry. She is already prepared to politely decline on his behalf, right as Jiang Chen tightens his grip on his umbrella. He lets go. Walking beside Tang Yuwei under his umbrella, her butler suddenly rushes over. Shielding Tang Yuwei from the storm, he gently pushes her wheelchair out of the cemetery. She cries out that she has no home left, making the butler stop right there. Jiang Chen stops. Sister in jail, physically disabled? Talk about an absolute tragedy of a backstory. Even her father abandoned her to groom a new heir, completely avoiding their home. Her father was the first to leave even this funeral, leaving Jiang Chen parting his lips with nothing to say. Nothing left to say. Honestly, is not this just how they have always treated each other all these years? Realizing the exact same thing, Tang Yuwei suddenly lets out a bitter, self-deprecating laugh that completely breaks my heart. She whispers how she wishes they could start over so she could love him properly. They would never have ended up like this, and she wouldn't have to face life alone. But there is no undo button in real life. No second chances. They both just have to keep moving forward, no matter how painful it gets.
3 years post-divorce, no going back.
This is actually the very first time they are speaking to each other so calmly. He just wanted a clean break back then. But back then, she was only obsessed with finding a way to win him back. She completely missed the finality in his goodbye. Closing his umbrella, Jiang Chen walks toward the exit, telling her not to meet again. As his figure fades from her sight, she quietly whispers her final goodbye to him.